Someone in your life right now is hoping you fail, not out of hatred, not because of something you did, simply because you are succeeding. Research from the University of Kentucky found that people consistently experience measurable pleasure when someone they envy suffers a setback. Not strangers, people they know, people who smile at them, people who call themselves friends. The ancient Romans had a word for this: invidia, a word so feared they believed it could literally kill. And here is the part nobody talks about. The more you grow, the more you achieve, the more of this silent poison gets directed at you. So the question is not whether someone around you carries it. The question is, do you know how to see it? Envy is the most socially hidden of all human emotions. Anger shows itself. Grief shows itself. Even greed has a visible face, but envy wears a mask. It wears the mask of concern. It wears the mask of advice. Sometimes it wears the mask of silence. Just a slightly too long pause after you share good news. Understanding envy is not about becoming paranoid. It is about seeing clearly, because the people who understand it move differently. They build differently. They choose who to trust with a precision most people never develop. What you are about to learn will reframe relationships you have had for years. Some of what you hear will be uncomfortable. That is the point. Envy is not the same as jealousy. This distinction matters more than most people realize. Jealousy is about protecting something you already have. Envy is about resenting what someone else has that you do not. Jealousy says, "Do not take this from me." Envy says, "Why do you have that and not me?" The difference is target and direction, and that difference changes behavior completely. In 1839, a Danish philosopher named Søren Kierkegaard wrote something that still cuts deep today. He said, "Envy is admiration that has turned hostile." Read that again. It starts as admiration. You see someone with something you want: a business, a body, a relationship, a level of respect. At first, there is simple recognition. That recognition is neutral. But somewhere, a switch flips. The mind decides that pursuing what you admire is too costly, too uncertain. And rather than continue to admire, it finds something easier: resentment. This is the anatomy of envy in its purest form. It is not born from hatred. It is born from desire that has given up. And that origin is exactly what makes it so dangerous, because the person carrying envy often does not even recognize it in themselves. They do not think, "I resent this person." They think, "Something about this person bothers me." They think, "I am not sure I trust them." They find reasons. They construct narratives. The human mind is extraordinarily skilled at converting envy into seemingly rational criticism. This is why envy from someone close to you rarely looks like envy. It looks like concern. It looks like realistic advice. It looks like them noticing things others have missed. Here is where neuroscience confirms what philosophers suspected for centuries. In 2009, researchers at the National Institute of Radiological Sciences in Japan conducted brain imaging studies on envy. What they found was precise and unsettling. When participants thought about someone they envied, the anterior cingulate cortex activated. This is the same region that processes physical pain. Envy does not feel like a social discomfort. To the brain, it registers like being hurt, and pain demands a response. The same study found that when the envied person experienced failure or misfortune, a different region activated. the ventral striatum. The reward center, the same system that fires when you eat, when you win, when you experience pleasure. Your brain rewards you for watching someone you envy fall. This is Schadenfreude, the pleasure derived from another's misfortune, and it is not a character flaw unique to dark personalities. It is a built-in feature of social cognition. Here is why this matters practically. When someone around you is experiencing envy, they are in a state of chronic low-grade pain, and they are waiting, consciously or not, for relief. That relief comes from one of two sources. Either they rise to your level, which requires effort, risk, and time, or you come down to theirs, which requires nothing from them at all. Now think about the advice that person has been giving you. Think about how they framed your last big decision. Think about whether their input on reflection would have kept you exactly where you were. Once you understand the mechanics, you start to see the delivery systems. Envy rarely attacks directly. Direct attack is too exposed. It requires accountability. Instead, envy operates through three primary channels. The first is undermining disguised as realism. This is someone consistently highlighting risks, obstacles, and failure rates whenever you share a goal. Not once, consistently, always arriving at the same destination, the conclusion that you should wait, shrink, or stop. The second channel is social sabotage. This is subtler. It is the offhand comment made about you in a group. The story about someone who tried what you are doing and failed. The slow, careful construction of doubt in the minds of people around you. They never need to say a single negative thing directly to you. They work the perimeter. The third channel is withdrawal. When you succeed, they go quiet. No celebration, no acknowledgement, just a slight cooling. And when you fail, they return, warm and available. Pay attention to that pattern. The timing of who shows up tells you everything. Now, the ethical use of this knowledge is not weaponization. It is navigation. You learn to distinguish genuine counsel from envious obstruction. You learn to share your ambitions selectively, not from paranoia, but from intelligence. The Roman emperors understood this. They kept their real strategies private, not because they feared enemies, but because they understood that proximity and access are gifts, and gifts should be earned. Give access to the people whose success does not depend on your failure. Now here is the part most videos on this topic will never tell you, because it is the part that is hardest to hear. Go back to that open loop from the beginning. Someone in your life is hoping you fail. That is true. But the same brain imaging study, the same neuroscience applies to you. You have felt it too. The slightly too comfortable feeling when someone you quietly compare yourself to stumbles. The twinge when a peer announces a win you wanted first. You have been there. Everyone has. That does not make you a villain. It makes you human. And this is the real revelation. Envy is not something that only happens to you from the outside. It is also something that happens inside you quietly without permission. And if you do not examine it, it does the same thing to you that other people's envy does to them. It converts your admiration into resentment. It converts your drive into bitterness. It makes you feel like the world is unfair rather than asking what you can build within it. The most dangerous version of envy is not the kind directed at you. It is the kind you carry without knowing it, because that one does not just slow other people down. It stops you entirely. The antidote is not positive thinking. The antidote is honest acknowledgement followed by redirection. See it, Name it. Then ask what it is actually pointing to, because beneath every envy is a desire you have not yet acted on. Envy is not going away. It is wired into the social brain. It existed before language. It will exist long after this video. But awareness changes everything. When you can see it in others, you stop being surprised by betrayal. When you can see it in yourself, you stop being a prisoner of it. That is the edge. Not anger at the people who carry it. Not fear of being envied. Just clarity. If this gave you something real, leave a comment with the word shadow. I read them. And if you want to keep going deeper into how the human mind actually works, the parts most people are never shown, subscribe. There is more coming. I will see you in the shadows.